Plausibly live from New York. It's a show that is headed to the parade.
I can't wait.
I would wait if I were you. We're going to be below.
I don't know about you. I shouldn't even go.
You can still go. But
No, you've got to go, but yeah.
it's going to be a little
I
rough.
think the people in me.
Okay, so the Chiefs are the 9th team, Nick.
Yep.
Nobody ever made it even back to the Super Bowl, never mind win it. 3 teams missed the playoffs entirely. What's the number one reason the Chiefs won't three-peat if they don't?
If they were to not do it, the most obvious answer, I think the right answer is if Chris Jones leaves. And I'm not arguing they can't do it without him. I am arguing they wouldn't have 3 Super Bowls without him.
That's true.
That Chris Jones, you can go through each and every playoff run. And it was weird because up until last year, he had never had a playoff sack, but still had his fingerprints all over these postseason runs. The first Super Bowl against the Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo went in the fourth quarter, had 3 passes tipped or knocked down. Chris Jones. You know what I mean? When the Chiefs were trying the comeback. Last year, AFC title game, Burrow has the ball, tie game, minute left, and it looks like he's going to drive the field. Chris Jones gets the sack. And then this playoff run, obviously, the push of Deion Dawkins into Josh Allen when he had someone open right before the Tyler Bass miss. And I thought he wreaked havoc in the game this weekend. So if Chris Jones leaves, that is a big hole to fill. Huge. They could also lose Snead, who, as great as McDuffie was in the playoffs and everything, and Snead was the best corner in the league this year. But they have drafted so well at that spot, and they're so deep at that spot, that I think they could overcome that more easily than Chris. It wouldn't be a death blow, either one of them, but that would be the most obvious. What I don't think is going to happen, Brew, is about someone else overtaking them. If they don't win, it's not going to be because, the Chargers under Harbaugh finally, you know what I mean? Now, they could be good and could be better, but because of the path they had this year, even if the Chargers were to win the division and the Chiefs were to have to be on the road the whole way, would anybody feel comfortable picking against them on the road in round 1 or 2 or 3? And so I don't think it's going to be that Baltimore is going to be better. They just lost their defensive coordinator, and they had the best possible year you could imagine from their defense. I don't know if Cincinnati is going to have T. Higgins back and their offensive coordinator's gone, and you have the Burrow injury risk. So it would be about the randomness of a football game or a Hall of Famer, because Chris Jones, now a Hall of Famer, leaves, and they were unable to replace him.
And I will say this. It'll be interesting to see where Jones goes. If I'm him, look, I'm trying to get paid. He's got his 2 Super Bowls. Like you said,
3.
He's got three Super Bowls. He's a Hall of Famer. And so now it's like, let me get the most money I can. It's not like for his position, you count the rings like you do for a quarterback. Right. That's why even Tyreek, I'm sure he misses being in these moments, but at the same time, he got this huge payday. So I don't know what he feels as far as should I have left or not. So I think now if I'm Jones, I'd give a little bit of a discount.
So that was going to be my question.
If it's only a little bit, sure, a couple million less, sure. But if it's a big difference, he's probably gone. And Snead, of course, too. And
Snead's never been paid. Snead has to go get the money. Chris is on the end of a 4-year, $80 million deal. Snead was a mid-round pick on the end of his rookie deal. Snead, I don't think Snead can take any discount.
Right.
Chris, we'll see what he wants to do. But go ahead, sorry.
No, complacency is obviously always a question mark.
You think the Chiefs are going to be complacent?
No, Mahomes will not be complacent. I love what he's saying, we were talking about only 8 teams have, repeated. And, they're aware. Clearly, he is aware, and I think Kelsey and the leadership is aware of the history, and they're not afraid of it. In fact, Mahomes is chasing the history, which I think is great. But some of the other players possibly could get a little bit complacent. That's always a challenge when you've, won a couple championships. But I'll say this, Nick. Look, as much as the receivers stepped up, and I know Hardman's a free agent.
Yep. And they might not have
Ricky James,
MVS
I think, MVS, Ricky James, I think, is a free agent. So they're going to have some new receivers. I want them to go get, if they can, a top flight receiver. Because I still think that could be an issue as well. Obviously, Mahomes has overcome it now, really 2 years pretty much. So it's not it's not insurmountable, but I still would like them to go. Rashid is obviously good. I'm not totally convinced he's a number one. I like more of a deep threat for a number one. So I think that's something they need to look at.
Before you go, Wilds, can I ask you a question on that exact note? Because I do think Rasheed's a number one, but he's not a take the top off the defense type of guy. He's more of a yards after catch guy. If Brett Veach had to make the choice this offseason, I can sign T. Higgins and lose Chris Jones.
No.
Or I can bring back Chris Jones and do what, and not bring in, for not just not bringing T. Higgins, but not bringing any high-priced receiver. So to me, I would definitively, I apologize.
Several
guys.
vapes.
My phone, it was everything. I apologize. I would, without question, bring back Chris Jones.
I agree.
So you're
because they've shown 2 years in a row now.
And it's just such a hard position to develop if you're not drafting blue chippers at the top of the draft, like those standout D linemen.
And those guys will probably get better.
Yes.
Some of the other receivers.
Two things. One, I think you target a wide receiver in the draft. I mean, obviously Puka is like a,
and it's a good,
such a superstar. But I think Mahomes can take a level, let's say, 8 guy and turn him into 10 guy. Take a 6 guy, turn him into an 8 guy. Here's the other thing, and it's not the sexiest reason, but it's actually the reason. And Andy Reid, after the game, talking about winning again. Got to have a good offseason, then a good training camp, then the ball shaped kind of funny. It's got to bounce for you in the right direction. It's a lot of luck. It's not the great analysis, but it's a lot of luck. Like, when did the Super Bowl turn?
You're going to say the punt.
The punt. And it wasn't even a bad play. It's just a random play, and all of a sudden, Mahomes gets the ball, Mahomes touchdown, and that almost like flipped the switch for him. I know we're going to talk about Brady in a second. There's so many instances of just lady luck falling in your favor, and then sometimes, football gods, it's got to go the other way. And I also agree, the harder you work, the luckier you get. I buy all that. They'll always be in position. But one of these lucky breaks is going to have to bounce the wrong way. It's not going to be the Chiefs' fault.
Yeah, no, luck is necessary, but Mahomes is also that good. Like, he is levels above everybody else. So
can I do a quick history thing here?
Yeah.
The teams who had a chance and why they didn't, because I think it's instructive. All right, so the Packers, Vince Lombardi retired. Then, by the way, they had run a bunch.
They did a 3.
They did, but it was just back-to-back Super Bowls.
Right, and then the championship the year before
exactly.
that.
But so Miami went to 3 straight, but they lost on the front end. So they had won back-to-back. What happened to them the next year? The famous sea of hands play, 28-26 into the game. So that's kind of what you're talking about. They were good enough, and they lost an epic game everyone remembers. Pittsburgh had 2 shots at it, right? The steel curtain. The first time, they lost to a Raiders team that was neck and neck with them the whole era. There was a 7-year run in NFL history where the Steelers and the Raiders won 6 of the 8 titles. So it's like, hey, we had a team that was basically almost as good as us. It was finally their turn. And in 1980, and this is the one none of us mentioned, you just hold your breath against, 1980, that Steelers team was ravaged by injuries. And so it just wasn't the same. Okay, so go to more modern day. The Niners, 88, 89. They had a chance in 90. They fumble with 2 minutes left against the Giants in the conference championship game, lose on a field goal at the end, 15-13. The Cowboys, it was similar to what I was saying about the Steelers-Raiders. The Niners were right there, played them every year in the playoffs. The Niners finally got their turn. And then the Broncos, Elway retired. You don't have to worry about that. And the Patriots in 05 just actually weren't that good. They only won 10 games. They got blown out, so they're kind of the outlier.
I think I know we're talking Brady. He turned the ball over, I think, 5
times. But that Patriots team was not a great team.
No,
they were 10
that was
wins.
Kind of just a Brady.
And so the point that I'm making is, the one that, if you're right now yelling at your screen at the team as a fan of a team that has not been mentioned, it's Bills fans saying, we are the Raiders of the 70s. We are the Niners of the 90s. We are the team that you keep beating in the playoffs that one day will get our own. Yeah. You know what I mean? I am more of the belief that the Chiefs are closer to the Dolphins of the 70s that could have won 3 straight on the front end or back end, and you just hope the sea of hands play doesn't go against you. So those are the teams that have come closest, and usually, Wilds, they're barring a retirement of a coach or a quarterback, they're right there. It's not like there's a lot of teams. It's like,
always
they fell off
mix.
entirely.
That's the best part of it. All right, well, Tom Brady went back-to-back for Super Bowls 2 and 3, then went 9 years before winning Super Bowl 4. So, Nick, do you think I'll start with you, bro. Do you think there's any chance that the Chiefs fall into a similar Super Bowl drought?
Honestly, I don't. I cannot fathom Patrick Mahomes going 10 years
and winning, but
without winning a Super Bowl.
Well, Brady did.
I know. But at this stage of their careers, Mahomes is better individually than Brady was at this stage.
No question.
Right? You can talk about Brady later.
Yeah.
But at this stage, Mahomes is much better. And Mahomes is like LeBron. Like LeBron, he's 39. Mm-hmm. And we are still like talking about, and I think he's still feeling, I got to get more rings because he's chasing. Whether you think he's past Jordan or not, he's chasing Jordan 6. All right, Jordan at 38, 39, nobody was even thinking about, he's got to get more rings because he had passed the guys he was looking at, Magic and Bird. Steph even. Is anybody really focused on like Steph's got to get a new ring? Yeah, we might like to see him. Right, we might like to see him compete with a team like that, but he's not have that guy in front of him that he's chasing. And so Mahomes is very aware and he's open about he's chasing Brady. So I think that will keep this team on edge and him on edge. And I just think he's too good also to even that's unfathomable. It will be one of the biggest shocks in modern sports history if they don't win another Super Bowl in 10 years.
You think Kelsey's going to play for another 10 years?
No, but I've
never seen him without Kelsey.
But
not saying it's impossible, but the secret to the Patriots dynasty
Kelsey
is that roster's
big. There's no doubt.
Okay, but you're right. Kelsey and Mahomes and Reed are the common denominators, and I don't think Reed's going to coach for 10 more years, but he's obviously going to coach for a few more years. But we have seen the Chiefs with totally different types of teams win Super Bowls. You know, high-flying, got outscore everyone in 19, a team that was high-flying despite not having the weapons last year, and this year, where a team that scuttled and was defensive-based, and Mahomes was excellent throughout. So I'm going to say there's two reasons I do not think this is likely. One is that, I don't want to say dirty secret, but the underrated part of that drought is Tom, in that stretch in the playoffs, had a lot of really bad moments. Brady in that stretch had 6 playoff games, 6, with more interceptions than touchdowns. Mahomes has had 1 in his career up to this point. And if you go through it, and we can show you Tom's numbers, I think, in that stretch, like it's not like they're brutal, but it didn't feel like in that near decade, like, we have such an edge because we have the best quarterback in the world. That was when
he wasn't even viewed as the best
exactly
quarterback.
Right until he was viewed as the winner, Wilds. But people forget what that all looked like. And now, in Tom's defense, he I think had 2 seasons lost to injury because 2008 you lost the whole year, and 2009 he was not that same guy. It took him longer to come back from the ACL, And then this is what you have to avoid if you're the Chiefs. The 2010 season, the Patriots were 14-2, the dominant team, and they lost to Mark Sanchez and the Jets. It's like, huh? And then the next year, they were even better, and they're in the Super Bowl, and you lose to Eli again.
But that's bad luck.
That's the luck. That's the David Tyree case.
No, that's Manning.
But I'm saying that's the luck.
Yeah.
The luck.
No, I agree, but here's where I disagree. When you are that good and you are playing a team you are reasonably a massive favorite over, you should you want to not let luck come into play.
I know.
And so that's the part of the era where it's a little confusing. And then it got real scary for Patriot fans because Peyton Manning goes to Denver and they're instantly awesome and they beat him in the playoffs. I don't see that type of drought because Mahomes is so great already. Brady's best playoff performances all came
later
in the latter half of his career.
And so there's 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lost the divisional rival Jets, 2 to the Ravens. Could you see Lamar peeling off too? Just beating Mahomes in the playoffs.
Well, I could
in
see,
9 years. Of
I'm
course
just saying 1.
Okay.
Like he's going to get 1.
Peyton Manning got 2 trips to the Super Bowl that were Eli played crazy. 1 turnovers, 1 injury. Like, that's it. Then all of a sudden you have that's the drought.
But I guess here's where I would push back on that. If you look at those seasons, in 2005 they weren't that good and they got blown out in the playoffs. In 2006 they just blew the AFC title game. That was the 21-3 game to Peyton. They came all the way back. They got blown out.
You're still playing Peyton Manning.
No, of course. But the point that I'm trying to make is 3 of these playoff losses they got blown out. But this is another thing that we haven't seen and we've gotten numb to. Mahomes now, playoffs and regular seasons, through 6 years of his career, has 3 Super Bowl titles and 4 losses by more than 1 score. So they're not, because they are not blowoutable, they are able to have the luck matter. You know, if they were down by 17 when the muffed punt happened in the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter. Right. Because they had held close, that's why it was able to matter.
All right, let's take a look at Mahomes' resume. 3 Super Bowl wins, 6 years, 2-time MVP, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, almost 300 yards passing, best ever, and 15 playoff wins. Brady has similar numbers in a few categories, but other than that, you're going to go cross sports here.
Sure, yeah.
Best start to a career ever.
So Brew, I think I narrowed it down, and I want to know where you fall on it. So we can start with football, and it's clearly Mahomes. And what I did is championships, championship appearances, championship MVPs, league MVPs, and times missed the playoffs. And I think we can show Mahomes against Brady and Montana, the other greats, and Mahomes clears the field. So Mahomes would move on from there. Wilds, we got a lot going on today. Just follow us on, okay? Because they're all going to look like this. Then I kind of did old legends that you're curious about where they're at, and we're not going to be. There we go. So the only one who's really Babe Ruth, I was surprised. But then I'm like, oh wait, they didn't even
pitching.
Yeah, exactly right. But that matters, right? So that's the Red Sox first. I did 7 because I'm including for Brady and Mahomes, to be fair, their rookie seasons. So Gretzky really, it's like, oh my God. So then, and Kareem is missing the playoffs, even though he was so great. So that final column is missing the playoffs.
Gretzky won 7 MVPs his first 7 years?
Yeah, Gretzky was pretty unbelievable. He's the only athlete ever that when you go to his Wikipedia, you have to go to another Wikipedia just for his record.
Really? 7?
And then I went to basketball only, Brew. And you have, the people that are going to stand out are Bird and Russell. And so this is what I came up with for the greatest starts to a career ever, if we can show the last one. And it's not quite Patrick. If we're being honest, as much as I would love it to be, Russell and Gretzky are going to be pretty damn hard to clear ever for anybody. Russell, the only reason he doesn't have championship MVPs is the award didn't exist. He won 4 league MVPs and won the title every year. Gretzky won a third of the titles and was league MVP every single year. But I think that's the list, Brew. I think if there's a Mount Rushmore of best starts to a career ever, he's clearly number 1 in football, and those are the guys he's competing with.
No, that's fair. I think it's obviously Gretzky. If you, with that list, I mean, 7 MVPs is
pretty good.
Right, in the championships. Russell, look, obviously the 6 championships in his first
7 years.
7 years, and 5 in his first 6. But Russell, individually, his statistics weren't what Mahomes were. Now, rebounding, he led the league
but he
several
still
times.
won league MVP 4 times.
He won, right. So it's that might be something. But look, generally, you have to go to individual sports. Like to put somebody with Mahomes, you got to go to like
Tiger,
Tyson with boxing, Tiger or Ali with boxing, Tiger in golf. Like, it's clearly football. That's not even close. And ironically, we talk about the GOATs, LeBron and Jordan. They're not close.
They're not close.
They're not close.
Yeah.
I mean, because they didn't win championships.
I know, but it's just a sort of a different trajectory.
But it was.
Yeah, I mean, they got going once they got going, of course, but and they were great individually, but the team, they didn't have the championships.
Do you think Wilds is a Brady guy, but also a Mahomes guy? That Brady, at the very least, Mahomes has now surpassed Brady's
early Brady?
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't think early Brady was still. It's almost like he needs a different name. He was still pick 199 Brady at that point.
Right.
I don't think he hits
He was
Brady
until
his perfect season.
Until he got
Randy Moss. Then he sort of just emerged into a legend.
Everybody realized how great he was because he hadn't had great receivers to that point. Then you give him one, it's like, oh my God.
7 years when the Chiefs trade for Marvin Harrison Jr. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.